The Michael Bastian Chronowing, engineered by HP, is more than just a simple smartwatch. Sure, it's got the ability to notify you of when text messages come in, and it's waterproof, and you can control the music on your phone through it, but it's more than that. It's also a fashion accessory that you can use to customize your style to any occasion. So you can see here, for instance, if you're out and you're wearing your leather strap and you decide that you want to go swimming, you should probably change over to the black matte rubber one because you don't want to ruin that leather strap. So that's what I'm going to show you how to do today, is how to change the straps on this watch, which is a pretty straightforward process, but if it's your first time, it can be a little tricky. So I'm going to give you all the little tips and tricks along the way to make it as easy as possible. The extra straps that come with this watch actually come with an installation kit as well. And before we begin taking and removing the wrist straps and replacing them, I want to explain the kit and how the pins and the wrist strap work. Because the better you understand that, the easier this is going to be when we get into it. So, in this kit, you'll find two tools, and these are known as the little changing or removal tools. And they are customized to go with the pins that go in here as well. And you'll have two extra pins that go with this kit. And within here you'll see that one end of the pin unscrews, just like a little nut and a bolt or a pin. This will actually fit into the watch in the strap across there. And so you'll insert it on one side and we'll be screwing it in on the other. But like I said, these are all customized. These watches are handcrafted, the straps are handcrafted, so there's some uniqueness to this, and everything fits just perfectly. So it has to be very well aligned and very well structured as you go through so that you don't run into things and cause problems. So what we're going to do here is first we'll take off one strap, the leather one, and we'll say we're going to go swimming, so we want to switch over to the black matte rubber strap. So let's begin there. And the first thing we want to do is make sure you do everything on a cloth surface. This is a great watch. You don't want to scratch it, so put it on something soft because you're going to be moving it around and your fingers are moving around, so you want to make sure you don't scratch that up. Okay, so let's first start out by looking at the holes, because this is probably the most important part, is making sure that the hole is clear and that the path is aligned for the pin to slide out and for the nut to come out. And it can be a little challenging, as you can tell, because that hole is so small that it fits just snugly against the nut. There's just enough room for it to get in there. So if there's any kind of debris or material or the leather or something slides over that nut, or if it moves around in there somehow, and then it's not going to have a clear path to get back out. And that's what causes the most trouble, and that's why I say this is a little tricky, especially your first time. So the thing you want to do after you identify where the holes are and make sure it's lined up is put the little removal tools into each end, like I talked about before. And this is where they say you can, twist it, counterclockwise with both fingers and remove it quicker. But I think it's actually a little easier to hold it steady and then do one hand at the other. Because if it slips at all, one of these, if you're doing it and it slips, you can strip out the nut or strip out that end of that tool. And that's going to make things very hard. It's going to make it very hard to get that nut out of there, and you're going to be doing some things you wouldn't want to be doing. So let's start by using the tools. Lefty-loosey, righty-tighty, they say, right? So turn them left. Hold one and turn the other until the nut starts to come out, or the pin, whichever side comes out easier. Usually it's the nut side. The nut usually pretty easy to get out, and you can use, a lot of times I find you can use the edge of the tool if you just kind of lean it back a little so it has some torque on it, and it'll kind of come out with it. But if the nut, as you can see, doesn't come right out, then maybe you can pull it out from the other side, from the pin side. So let's see if we can push that pin side back out. And here at this point you might use tweezers or your fingers. If you don't have any fingernails, you might try to use a pair of pliers, like from over here. So you've got these little pliers here, something that you can pull it out with. But that one's still kind of being stuck, as you can see. So this is where there's a little bit of challenge. So we need to be able to get the nut out, and one of those things that's keeping it there, I think, is probably because it's not staying aligned. So keep it down here and flush and aligned. Get the tool in here, and I forgot to use the other side. Push it in, hold it steady, and then try and pull that thing out. See, oh, and there's the pin came out, just like I wanted. And on this side, the nut came out too, except for the nut's still in that side. So at that point, you can use like a paper clip or one of these other pins or something to push that nut back out of there. There you go. So that's the kind of things that you'll run into. So make sure that you use the tools correctly, keep it flush. If it's not aligned, you can kind of wiggle this thing while it's in there to make sure you keep the alignment as you're trying to work it out. If it seems a little hard, then make sure you don't twist it too hard and strip the nut out. And then another good tip that I found is if one side's really not pulling out too easily, switch sides with the tools. Sometimes for some reason I found if the tool isn't really working really great on one side, sometimes the alternate tool does. Or so it's things like that. You can just try switching it around. If one side's not working too well, try something or attacking it from the other side. And then once you've pulled it all out and you pulled that nut out, like I said, you can use a paper clip to poke that out if the nut doesn't want it. I mean, if you've got the nut out but not the pin, you can use a paper clip to poke it out. See, it comes right out of there. So that's how you get that part out. But if you do end up forcing it or stripping it or some of those things and you end up prying it out with pliers, you may end up bending the pin. But you won't run into this if you do these other tips so much. So that's why you want to make sure you get the material out of the way first. But if something does happen, you have the extra pins that came with it, so that they do give you some extra pins. And now it's removed, and we can move on to putting the strap on it. So now that you've removed the strap, that's the hard part. That's the toughest thing, as you saw with getting past the holes and getting the thing out of there. Putting it back in is much easier as long as you just pretty much reverse the process. Make sure that you do things like line up the holes. So we're going to switch over here to our black matte rubber strap so that we can go swimming. And we're going to make sure we line up those holes, remember to here, because if it's not lined up, it makes it all a lot harder. And this can be a little bit, bit of a balancing act as you're doing this. If it's easier to keep it face down, on the cloth, again, always on the cloth, then do that. Put it in until you can get that to line up. But for me, I kind of keep bumbling it and it keeps falling around, so I'm going to turn it on its side so I can see the hole a little better as I try to line it up. Make sure that's flush, and then insert it through like so. And see, I have to wiggle it a little bit, make sure you get it in there. It slides in. And if it's having a tough time going in, you can use that back end there to push it in, and then pushes through. And we take the nut on the other side. Make sure we get the threaded end lined up. You can look in there and see that threaded side. And make sure we get that in there. It slides in. And again, if that thing's having a tough time going in, use the end of it, or you can use this end while it's in here and just kind of push it through, see? But right now it's not connected to the other side, so it pushes the other side back out. So that's why we need both the tools, so that one side doesn't just push the other one around. And now they should be hopefully lined up in there. If they're not, it's just going to keep spinning and moving. But we're going to try the same thing, except for this time we're turning clockwise. Remember, righty-tighty this time rather than lefty-loosey. So we're going to twist, try and keep this balanced. As you see, it's not so easy to balance this all the time, so when they tell you to turn both at the same time, it's a little tricky. So I try to just hold one and turn with the other. I seem to have a little better balance that way with it. And just go till it feels tight. Don't go too tight, because you'll create another problem for yourself. You'll either strip the nut, or the next time you want to replace it and go back to your leather strap or the ballistic nylon strap, you're going to have a really hard time getting that thing loose. So make sure you don't go too tight, just tight enough that it's, snug. And then it's all aligned, your threads are right, and then you just do the same thing to the other strap, and you're good to go. Now you can go swimming and come back and switch to when you want to go out dancing. That's all there is to it.